So you're ready to hire a JV manager and scale your business, but there are so many things to consider. Quite frankly, you probably have a lot of questions. So how do you do it? Well, stick around because today I'm going to give you all the inside information on hiring your own JV manager. Welcome to the Affiliate Guy podcast. If you want to grow your income, serve your tribe, and enjoy all the benefits of affiliate marketing and having your own affiliates, you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me today. Now let's get started. So this happens with a lot of folks. You get to this point in your business where you're ready to scale it. You know, maybe you've done a certain number of sales, your profits maybe have kind of leveled off, and you're ready to take that next step. You're ready to bring on a JV manager. Maybe you've even run some JVs yourself. You have some affiliates, you have some friends, you've run a small affiliate program, but you're ready to scale this thing and make it a lot bigger, bring in a lot more revenue. Well, that's what happened there's a guy in my Launch Club mastermind, it's Jeff Walker's Launch Club, and he was asking about this. He's like, hey, we're doing a certain amount of revenue, we've got a certain level of conversions, and I think the next step is to bring on a JV manager, but how do I do it? It can be confusing, right? Well, there's two basic ways you can do it, and we're going to talk about both. We're going to talk about the pros and cons, how to do it, and then ultimately answer some of the questions that we've been getting about hiring JV managers, and talk about what I recommend that companies do, kind of the best of both worlds scenario. And ultimately, it comes down to two competing, if you will, two different ways to do it. You can either hire in-house, have a team member who runs your JVs, or you can outsource it, which is what we do for clients, actually. Now, my answer at the end here, as far as what we recommend, might surprise you. Actually, might surprise you considering what we do for a living. So let's run through, just the pros and the cons of outsourcing and doing it in-house. First, with outsourcing, the pro is that they bring in existing connections. The reality is if you hire a company like us, we have thousands and thousands of proven JVs, affiliates, if you will, whatever the term is, they're interchangeable, and I'll probably say both here. We have a database of probably 5,000, of whom about 1,000 to 1,500 have made more than $1,000, $2,000 in sales for our clients. You only have to get a fraction of those to immediately have a $500,000 launch with us. I mean, that's one of the pros. The con is it's going to be a lot more expensive. I will tell you right now, we cost a lot of money, and so do all of my friends in this industry. We cost a lot of money. The next pro is that they know the industry. We know the industry. I know what works. We have a playbook. We literally have close to a 100-page playbook, and we execute that playbook. Now, we innovate, but the reality is that we're able to execute that playbook. We can, quite frankly, do this in our sleep. The con is that they know the industry. The con is that they can do it in their sleep, that they have a playbook. That's actually can be a bad thing in some ways. Because the reality is we're going to run client A's launch just like we're going to run client B's and client C's and client D's. And it does admittedly kind of become old hat in a way. This is why one of the con here that they know the industry is that it's hard to train them in your way. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But anytime I talk about this, it makes me think of Southwest Airlines when they were getting started. Southwest refused to hire flight attendants and people from American and Delta and the other airlines. They didn't want them. They went out and hired waitresses, and they hired people who sold phones and people who did this and did that. Why? Because they wanted to train them in the Southwest way. They wanted to train them in their unique way and teach them the industry. One of the other pros is that they work with other clients. Which means that they learn a lot. They learn a ton. In fact, I probably should start with the con here because they work with other clients, so they're busy. They're busy, right? And that makes sense. You go, oh, well, they're busy, because they work with so many clients. That's a bad thing, right? Well, the pro side of that is that they learn a ton. When we were working with a lot of clients, now we've actually cut, just for the record, we've cut way back. We're not looking for new clients right now. Feel free to reach out to us, but odds are we're probably going to say no and recommend somebody else. But when we were running, 6, 7 client we had 6, 7 clients at a time. In fact, at one point we had 12 and that was too many, and we cut back to 7 and then 5 and now down to 1. And that's Ray Edwards. And because we love Ray. It's the only reason we work with Ray. It's because he's amazing. He's the only person we'll work with. And so more than likely, it's not to say there might not be another amazing person in the pipeline. When we were running 7 of these a year, for example, that meant we were running 7 big launches and usually 2 or 3 small launches, plus our own stuff. We were learning a ton. And we could take those innovations and those lessons and immediately apply to the next one. When you have somebody who's maybe only doing 1 or 2 a year in-house, they only have 1 or 2 learning opportunities. So it's both a con that they're busy and that it's a pro that they're learning a ton. So what about the in-house side? What are the pros and cons there? Well, the pro to having an in-house person is that they're dedicated to you. They're all in with you. Now, we just sort of talked about that. One of the cons to that part is that, yeah, they're all in with you, but are they able to advance enough because they only have 1 or 2 promotions a year, perhaps? It can be a lot harder. Are they getting exposed to other stuff? Will they have enough work? Or one of the ways around that is this, maybe you could have it be someone who runs your JVs and your Facebook ads, or your JVs and your social media, whatever it may be. On the pro side, they're a part of your team. They're a part of your culture. They're soaking up your brand. And so they just really become an extension of you. That's not something that an outsourced person will do. They're not really a part of your brand and your culture. Now, on the con side of that, like I just said, they're not exposed to other stuff. So they're typically not learning from other niches. They're not learning from other industries like an outsourced person is, who might work, in a few different niches. Another pro is that they can handle both sides of the JV relationships. They can handle your inbound, meaning they can get in affiliates, but they can also handle the outbound, which means they can actually manage your promotions of stuff. That might be a way to fill up some of that time, by the way. That's great because now when you're doing reciprocal promotions where A promotes B and B promotes A, you have 1 person managing that as opposed to 2. There's really no con to that, actually. That actually is a huge benefit to doing it in-house, admittedly. Now, ultimately, like I said, my recommendation may surprise you because my recommendation, despite the fact that we run an outsourced, we're an outsourced affiliate program management company, I recommend, if at all possible, doing it in-house. With this caveat, if you've got the budget starting out and you want to scale fast, what we recommend is what we're actually going to possibly be doing with a couple of clients in the coming year or so. What we'll do is we'll actually sign an 18-month contract with them. And I don't know any other outsourced managers who are willing to do this, but it's what we're going to do. And we're going to have an 18-month contract. And we will run it fully for 9 months. So they get to kickstart really fast, right? And then over the next 9 months, our objective is to phase ourselves out, help them find the right person in-house. And then after 9 months, we're actually completely out. We're done. And so there's a progression where after running a big promotion, so 9 months, up, we'll run it. Then we'll spend about 3 months where we'll help hire the person and train them and bring them on. And then for those last 6 months, we're available to coach them and do some consulting, be kind of on call for them, answer situational questions, stuff that would never come up in training, but how do we do this? Things like that. And that's ultimately what our plan going forward is for a lot of our potential clients, because we know that they want to kickstart so they can leverage our existing relationships. They can leverage the fact that we know how to do this from day one. There's no training involved, but also get that person in-house who's going to be there for 5, 10, 15 years, is bought into the culture, and that, we can train them in how to do these things. So those are the pros and cons of how you do it. But there's a lot of questions that people have, and I want to address those. And some of these questions we asked on Facebook, we asked in the mastermind group, and the most common questions that we got, number 1 are, how do you find this person? And number 2, how do you pay them? How much and what's the kind of the compensation structure? Well, let's talk about that. How do you find a JV manager, an affiliate manager? Well, if you're going the outsourced route, and again, you could possibly do a combination of these things. I don't know if anybody else is doing what I just suggested, for the record. There might be, though. If you're looking for an outsourced, affiliate manager, first of all, it's a small world. So I got to be honest, there aren't many I'd recommend. In fact, there's 2 that I recommend outside of us. 2 on the face of the earth. Unless you're looking for a very specific niche like retail, there might be a couple of others. Or if you're a gigantic brand, and when I say gigantic, I mean $50 million plus at a minimum, then there's another 2 companies I would recommend, one for smaller retailers and one for giant brands. But in kind of in my world, most of the world that most of you are in, there's 2. There are literally only 2. So just know that. But the number one way is to look at other programs. Go look at who's running their stuff, watch their launches, watch their promotions, and say, oh, I like the way that this person does it. I like that. I like the way they do it. And then reach out to them. See if they might be interested in taking you on as a client. I've seen many people post this, so I'm going to address one thing for outsourced. Do not hire on Upwork. Do not go get a JV manager who posts on Upwork. The good ones don't ever need to do. I've literally never marketed my services. In fact, I'm on here telling you right now, we're going to say no to you if you reach out to me, probably. You might be the exception, so feel free to reach out. We don't market our services looking for clients. The people come to us and we get referrals, so we don't need to. Now for in-house, here's where you should look. Number one, look at your current team. There might be somebody, if you've got a team of 6 or 7, a customer service person, a marketing person, look there. Number 2, look at your list. Look at people on your email your list and say, hey, we're looking for this type of person. Is it you? Here's an application, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk. Your connections and recommendations, like I just said. I mean, your friends, your mastermind buddies, whatever it may be. For in-house, look at other programs. I'm saying you might look at who's working for somebody else and steal them. That's called business. That's the way it works in the business world. Lots of people go from Google to Microsoft and Microsoft to Apple and, from Uber to Lyft and Coke to Pepsi. That's how the world works. So if need be, go steal somebody. And then this is something that we help with in that process I was talking about. So you might get somebody like us who will come on board as an outsourced person, run it for a period of time, and then help you transition to in-house. As I said with the outsource side, do not hire somebody from Upwork or any other thing like Craigslist or whatever for your JV manager position. You got to find the right person for this. So just don't use those services to hire a JV manager. All right, so the second big question is how much do you pay them? How do they get paid? What's kind of that compensation structure? Well, I'm going to walk you through some guidelines just to give you an idea here. We're paid between $2,500 and $5,000 a month just as a retainer. So just to even work with us, I remember I struggled with that when we first started. And so we actually did charge less, and then it went up and up and up. And I'll never forget what my wife said. She said, and I was like, well, how can I justify that? And she's like, well, you're paying $5,000 a month for the pleasure of working with us and to keep us from going to work with your competition. I was like, okay, good point. And we never had anybody really flinch at that. We never once had anybody flinch at our monthly retainer. They understood. So we get $2,500 a month to $5,000 a month, depending upon the client and what the workflow is. And then we get 10 to 15% of the affiliate revenue. So we only get paid on the affiliate revenue, as we should. And again, that percentage varies depending upon margins and things like that. Again, I'm speaking back when we worked with dozens of clients, right? So just depend a little bit. And typically the higher the retainer, the lower the revenue share would be, but not necessarily, because sometimes we just did a lot of work. Now that's higher than the average. That's considerably higher than the average in the industry. But then again, we're better than the average. So I'm just saying we're better than the average. So here's a guide. Here's just a kind of a general guide for outsource. Plan on paying between $1,000 and $5,000 a month for a retainer. The better ones, it kind of depends on who it is. The better ones are going to be on that higher scale like us. The lower ones are probably going to be about $1,000. You can probably get away with $1,000. I would not volunteer that amount though. Okay. So I'm speaking as someone who's like telling you how to negotiate with my peers in this world. Don't offer them anything per month. See what they come to you with. They might not come to you with any request for upfront money. Removes a little bit of the risk, but they'll win big if they succeed. But as far as planning, I'd be prepared for $1,000 to $5,000 a month. And then I would do this as far as compensation. I would offer them, we don't do this because it's just not the way we operate, but I would offer them, or see again what they'll offer, but I'd plan on about 20% of the people that they bring on and 5% of everyone else. Because just because they don't recruit somebody doesn't mean they're not doing any work. They're doing a lot. You're just rewarding them bigger for those relationships. That's part of the value of outsourcing this, right? In terms of in-house, depending upon their workload, other projects, are they also running your social media, your ads, whatever, pay them a fair salary. Pay them a fair salary. Then I would have a tiered bonus structure, a tiered bonus compensation of something around 5% if they, let's say currently, your company that you're doing $500,000 in sales. Let's say you have no affiliate program. Actually, let's use an example where you have an affiliate program, you're bringing in $100,000. I'd pay them 5% if they hit that number, or maybe a little bit, make it a little bit higher. Pay them 5%. But if they hit 250,000, I'd pay them 10%. And if they hit $1 million, I'd pay them 15%. Reward them big if they hit home runs, right? If they're hitting doubles, yeah, way to go, hit some doubles. You'll make $30,000 a year bonus or something. But if they hit them, if they're going out and hitting home runs every time they're up at bat, they should make a lot of money. People doing this can and should make hundreds of thousands of dollars if they do it well. And here's the thing, you make a lot more. So don't be afraid to have a JV manager making $250,000 a year or more. I mean, I know from our clients, now granted, we are a team, in that area of running affiliate programs, we had a team. So we had a team of 5 people at any point in time working on a single client. But, a single client would pay us, $110,000 to $175,000 a year. And not one person, but we were only really part-time for that client too, because we delivered results. And so make sure that you're paying your JV managers really, really, really well. Make it a win. Make it a win-win. Because like I said, you'll make a lot more money. Thank you so much for listening today. Remember to check out all of our deep dives into affiliate marketing at theaffiliateguy.tv. And if you have a question, you can ask it at asktheaffiliateguy.com. Who knows? Might end up being featured on this podcast.